It looks like I'm going to have to pick some colors because it looks like I have a lot of solid colors in my page. And in general, if I see a solid color in a page, I'm going to try to do it in CSS rather than with a background image. It'll make the page load so much more quickly if we minimize the number of images we load and use as much CSS for styling as we can. This looks black. This looks like some kind of gray over here. This is some kind of peachy color. I don't know exactly what that red is, but maybe we can find that out. Let's have a look in the assets to see what we might have available. So we have an images folder. There's a mockup in there. That is about it for us. And unfortunately, I can't color pick directly from in a Photoshop document, so that's not going to be helpful for us. But later on, we'll have some more options as we start exporting pieces of this mockup, but this gives me a good opportunity to show you a little bit of Photoshop. So let's head over there. So I need to pick some colors from this mockup, so I'm going to kind of go top down and then see. I can't get the red, but I'm going to assume that that red color is going to be the same red as the heading, and then we'll just go with that for the moment. Over on the left-hand side, this is the Tools palette, and what I want is that I could do this with the eyedropper tool, and I'll show you where that is. I'll actually kind of always forget where the eyedropper tool is. So the eyedropper tool is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down from the top, and if it's not visible, which it probably is, hold down and you can choose it. So you can do that and use the eyedropper. You can also click this color swatch for the foreground and background colors, and that will also give you an eyedropper tool. So, but I have the eyedropper set, and I can click it, and it gives me a color, and it sets that color right here. Usually I find it a little faster, and often because I have the ruler set up here, which is in the same place as the eyedropper, I'll instead just click the rectangle because it's super quick, and then I'll give me a nice picker. The other nice thing about this is that I see the hex number right in here, so I don't have to re-pick it. So if I'll just pick it again, it selects the hex number, and I can just copy it, Command C, and then that's going to be my navigation area background color. So let's see how that works. So just a review from my own self, I see that this is a nav tag and it's the main nav. There's a couple different things I could do here in the style sheet. Because it's the only nav tag, I could just name it nav and make a rule for that. That would be fine. If I wanted to make sure it was the main nav, I could do this. Or really, this is only going to be the ever going to be a nav tag, so I could remove this and have it like this. Any of these are fine. I think what I'm going to do is put nav in here because this is a new tag that we haven't worked with before, and to just get used to using these semantic markup tags. So nav is a tag, it's not an ID. So looking at my index file, nav is the tag name. Therefore, I don't need to put any pound or dot or anything before it because we're talking about a tag. And I'm going to set the background color here to the thing that I copied and pasted from Photoshop, and save, and then look at it in the browser. And there is that same color. So this is how to use the color picker in Photoshop. I'm going to do a few more just to show you some other features of Photoshop. So the other thing that I would like is I'd like to know what that over color was, because if I look in the mockup, it's supposed to be red for the active link. Like this is the home page, so the home page is red in the nav bar. So it's not in here in this mockup, unfortunately, but I'm just going to choose this red. I do not guarantee that I'm going to be able to hit that red right on the money at that size. So let me make the document a little bigger. Let's zoom in. I can do this with Command plus. That would be Control plus on Windows. You can also go down to the bottom left and type a number in for the zoom. Like if I want this at 200%, I can type a number in. Actually, I can't. How funny. I used to be able to type a number in. Okay, never mind. Command plus it is. Oh, it's because I have my dialog open, I bet. Let me cancel out of my color picker. Okay, now let's see. There we are. Okay, so 200%, hit enter, and then I'm up where I can actually see something. So I'll click my square for the foreground color, and then I'm going to color pick. So you'll notice when I have this all zoomed in that there's a bunch of like really red pieces, and then there's a whole bunch of these like kind of semi-transparent pixels that are around the corners. So when you're making a round thing in a square grid, you're going to get jaggy lines, right? And so jaggy lines are more formally called aliasing. This is what it looks like when you try to do a diagonal or something, anything that's not a straight up and down or side to side line on a computer, you're going to get aliasing. So aliasing means those stair-steppy things that you see when you're going down at an angle. So in order to make it not look like that and make it look smoother, when I zoom back out, the Photoshop and many other programs apply something called anti-aliasing, which means fill in with these kind of semi-transparent pixels to make it look smoother. So I don't want to pick up one of those semi-transparent pixels as my color. I want the raw red that's right here. So I'm going to make sure to pick from the middle of one of my horizontal or vertical lines like this, so I don't pick up those anti-aliasing transparent pixels. So this copies the color in, or puts the color into this dialog. I'm going to Command C, Control C on Windows to copy, and then switch back and make that my, well, it's a color of a lot of things. It's a color of, I think this is probably an H1. Yep, that's an H1. It's also the color of this, which is an H2. And it's the color of whatever, however I say this is the active one. So here it's an A with a class of active on it. Okay, so H1, H2, and an A with a class of active on it. Let's write that rule. H1, H2, and A with a class of active on it gets a, actually, these have to be separate rules. H1 and H2 get the regular font color of this color. And then the active A gets a background color of that color. Okay, so that should help me get my red colors in. Refresh. Yeah, so far so good. So this is color picking in Photoshop. Let me think about if there's any other color picking trivia I can offer for you. Oh, I have one more item for you, and that's, let's go pick this gray. Let's go figure out what this gray color is in the footer. I'm pretty sure this is black for a background color, but let's check it in Photoshop. So you can scroll, I'm using my mouse wheel to scroll. You can also hold down the space bar and get the hand, and then you can push the page around in Photoshop. So you might like to use that shortcut too. If I color pick here, yep, the hex color goes in and I can see that it's zeros. So I can use the word black. I can use the hex number 0. And then for this one, I'm going to Control plus a little bit to zoom in so I can get right on there. Not convinced. 2626 is, I don't believe it. Use the hand. So if I pick from this gray bar going straight down, let me go in a little closer. It turns out that that color is, yes, that's more like what I thought. All 6s. So this is a WebSafe color gray. This could be abbreviated to 666 because so WebSafe color has double digits of each. So each two, it's each pair, 66, then another 66, and then another 66. For the red channel here, the green channel here, and the blue channel here. So any gray will have similar colors in all these 3 channels. If it's WebSafe, in addition to having doubles of each one of these 3 channels, the numbers will be divisible evenly by 3. So just looking at this, I can say this is a gray that's WebSafe, and thus it can be abbreviated. So, and this is in the footer. This was a footer tag. Let's have a quick look at it. It's a footer tag. So I'm going to put the gray as the color and black as the background of my footer. So this gray was the text color. And I could say all 6s, or I could say just 3 6s. That's fine. I can abbreviate. Could also say 6666666. And we'll put a background color. Black. Could also say 000 or 000000. That would also be fine. I think I misspelled it because it's red. Oh yes, G. Okay, save and refresh, and we should be getting closer to our colors. So at this point, I think the only thing I don't have is the background color of the button. Let's see. This button color looks a lot like that salmon, but let's just double check to see if it's the same color in Photoshop, since we're getting used to using Photoshop. So now I'm really huge in Photoshop. Let me Command minus a bunch so I can tell where I am. And then I'm going to pick right in here. Oh, actually, it's actually a different color. It's not that same pink. Funny. Okay, so let me zoom in on it and just make sure I'm picking from a good area. Oh, slightly different there. Let me pick the top left corner. Huh, bummer. Okay, so that's just a whole bunch of different colors in there. And which is the right one? Tough to know. There's a lot of them. This kind of stuff makes me crazy. Is it very different from that? Yeah, actually quite a bit different. Okay, so just pick one of them. Maybe later this more will be revealed to us. But for now, I'm going to copy this out and go find out what that Learn More button is in the browser. So this one is, well, the only defining feature I can see about it is that it's class of button. So I'm going to go with that and say that it has a background color of what it has. This is dot button because it's class equals button. And we'll say that the background color is this. And then maybe I'll have to change this later, but we'll see. Hopefully not. Refresh. Okay, so now I have some of the basic colors applied, and we've learned a little bit about the Photoshop color picker.